Never thought it would come to the moment you and me were in you.
Yo, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Blorange Tears. I am Uncle Freezie, and I have a thought. So I have a thought or two, or maybe I have a few thoughts. Let me state it as such. So I have a lot to talk about. A little bit of time to get all these thoughts out in a manner that's palatable. Let me first say thank you to DSJ for supplying the musical intro. That's Delano Steele Jr. And the musical intro you heard is a song that he wrote called For Your Love. So shout out to Delano Steele Jr. with the musical intro For Your Love. It's a beautiful joint. And I would suggest once it's released, man, y'all go buy that and add it to your playlist. It's a beautiful song. But for the business at hand, I want to touch on 10 different things, right? And I'm going to touch on them briefly, just overviews of them, and then hopefully it'll drive um, further discussion as we move forward. So I want to briefly talk about the team performance through 20 games. I'm going to talk about the record, the Knicks record, and the standings. I'm going to briefly talk about the injuries and health of this team. We'll briefly talk about player development, coaching and strategy, offensive and defensive performances, upcoming challenges, team chemistry, how the fans feel, fan engagement, and the impact on the Knicks universe, and briefly touch on trade, roster rumors, and moves. So first things first. Let's talk about the team performance through 20 games. The team performance in my mind through 20 games has been up and down. We look great at times, and we look overmatched at times. We look like a team that is definitely not a lottery team at times, and then look like a team that is nowhere near championship contention at times. Depending on how you feel about this 2023-24 New York Knicks, it may have you in a conundrum. And it may have you in a situation where you feel like you, as the fan, have more questions than answers. And it may have you in a situation at times where you feel like you have all the answers and some of the questions are panicky questions. At 12-8, the Knicks are off to a relatively good start. At 12-8, under this regime, you feel like the Knicks are off to a great start because historically, under this regime, the Knicks always jump out of the box shaky. How does that make you feel as a Knicks fan when you know last year we were shaky, the year before we were shaky, and the year before that we jumped out of the box shaky? But this season, the Knicks jump out of the box at 12-8. And you know, historically, the Knicks finish the last 20 games of the season strong. And so generally, what makes or breaks a Knicks season is game 21 through game 61 or 63, I'm sorry. 21 through 63 is where the Knicks usually make or break their season. So if you're a Knicks fan right now, even though it feels like at times we're in a dire situation, if you merely go by what this team normally is, then this team is in a great place. If you go by character traits and resume. So one of the team's strengths thus far is ball movement and three-point shooting. One of the team's weaknesses thus far is lack of size on the perimeter and lack of size at point guard, shooting guard, small forward, and power forward when Randall goes to the bench. That's a weakness for us. And also another weakness for us is the mere fact that the Knicks allow a uncharacteristically high field goal percentage against opponents. But since they prevent opponents from shooting, the defense looks pretty good. The defensive numbers look pretty good. But is that sustainable over the course of an 82 game schedule when the roster is small? Fire ants, hornet's nest. I guess that's a question we'll be asking all season. How many standout performances have you seen from the Knicks so far? I think you've seen a couple Jalen Brunson standout performances, a couple 40-point games. You've seen a couple, maybe 4 standout Randall games where he's gone for 25, 9-9, or 8-8 a couple of times, or 3 or 4 times. Will you get more of those performances? Absolutely. I'm confident that we will. I don't see anything on the open road that says otherwise. And when it comes to that 12-8 record and being third in the East and things of that sort, I don't know if the Knicks are happy being right there. And the reason why I say happy being right there is because if you're the 5th place team and you're aspiring to third, that's one thing. But when you're the 3rd place team, do you aspire to be in the same place that you were last year? So where do they go from here? I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure where they go from here, but we'll get into that as we move along. In terms of injuries and health, the Knicks don't have any major injuries. I think the injury woes are behind the Knicks right now. There were significant injuries through games 1 through 20. Quentin Grimes missed time, RJ Barrett missed time. But in terms of the product on the floor, there are no major injuries. And with that said, the player development piece. I think the player development thing, honestly, everybody, the player development thing, honestly, I feel as if there's a step backwards. I feel as if we've taken a step backwards in terms of overall player development. I just don't see a player with a standout development aspect of a major step forward. I don't see it. It doesn't mean it's not there. I just don't think it's significant. I just don't think it's significant. I don't see where a developing player has taken a major step. I don't see Quickly shooting 40% from three. I don't see Quentin Grimes's handles vastly improved. I don't see RJ Barrett's finishing at the rim being vastly improved. Has RJ Barrett's defense taken a major step up? Yes. But his offense, mm, I don't I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know where we are with player development. And it saddens me because a team this young should have players developing at least at a marginal level. And I don't know. I think the Knicks are developing at a stagnant level. And I know that's coaching and strategy. I understand that. Do you coach every day to develop young players, or do you coach every day to win? And I think Tom Thibodeau has taken the approach of get out of the gates fast, get out of the gate fast so that you won't have any stumbling blocks during the season. And it's a noble approach. The Knicks are 12-8. And regardless of what the numbers say, the Knicks have a winning record through 20 games. And we can't say the same for last year when the Knicks at 23 games were 10-13. In terms of the offense, I think the offense is becoming more modern. It may not be modern, but it's headed in that direction. So it's headed for um, a modern feel, but right now we can't say it's a joy to look at. Defensively, we already know and spoke to some of the shortcomings. We spoke to, no pun intended, the team not being as tall and long as other teams and what you desire for an NBA team. Basketball is for tall people. Volleyball is for tall people. What upcoming challenges do the Knicks face? Definitely the remainder of this December schedule. The remainder of this December schedule, everybody, is going to be tough. The remainder of the December schedule is going to be tough, and the Knicks are going to face unprecedented challenges. And there is going to be, my prediction is that there's going to be fiery rhetoric. There's going to be some infighting. There's going to be some come to him moments. There are going to be some face the fire moments. And how the Knicks respond to that is going to be a true indicator of what this season is going to be like. It's going to be telling. Right now, it seems, or let me rephrase, let me restate. Team chemistry before the season started, I thought team chemistry was intact. After hearing Josh Hart's blurb and Quentin Grimes' blurb recently, I don't know if team chemistry is 100% intact, but whatever it is that's happening with the players, they're keeping it for the most part behind closed doors. Right? It seems like the chemistry off the court is great. The chemistry on the court may not be. The Grimes thing and the Hart coming out thing saying he don't feel like he's in rhythm thing. I don't know. I don't know how that will affect the team going forward, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And Knicks universe, how does this impact Knicks universe? I think it impacts Knicks universe in a way where the Knicks fans want to win and they want a star. The Knicks fan base wants this team to be dominant for once. That's what I get, right? Because I understand that there are some members of Knicks universe that will tell you to be patient. It's only game 20, and they say a lot of things based on today's record, not taking into account that this regime has been in place almost 3.5 years. And during those 3.5 years, other teams that were perennial lottery teams look like they're on their way to becoming special. Sacramento, Orlando, Indiana, Houston. There are some teams that were bad, just like us, and Minnesota, Oklahoma City, and they seem to be headed to a better place faster than the Knicks, who at times appear to be going nowhere fast. And not to sound panicky, but Minnesota today and Minnesota 2 years ago, the Knicks today and the Knicks 2 years ago, it appears Minnesota is lapping the Knicks right now in terms of development, i.e., Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, and with the Knicks, Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickly. Their star is not shining as bright as it did when we first got them. And it may be the case for a myriad of reasons, but for any reason, I don't know if Knicks fans feel the progress of Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickly is A, suitable for us to wait 3 or 4 more seasons, or when they finally arrive at their potential, was it worth waiting 6 seasons? Knicks fan base also feel like the Knicks need a tall player on the roster that could be impactful to the future. Now, are there any trades and roster rumors out there? Of course, during trade season, during trade season, the Knicks are always going to be bantied about. Their name, I'm sorry, is going to be bantied about. So keep your eye out for names like Zach LaVine. If Chicago does a fire sale, keep an eye out for the Knicks and any other team that may do a fire sale because the Knicks name will be bantied about whether or not the Knicks are actually going to do something. Maybe not. Keep an eye out for some teams that are struggling, i.e., Memphis, Chicago, Golden State, Portland, Charlotte, Washington, Detroit. Keep an eye out for those teams. They may do something, and the Knicks may be in a position to buy. I'm your main man, the number one chief rocker in Knicks universe, Uncle Freezie, and this was Uncle Freezie Has a Thought.